Good morning, everyone. I see several people signing on. We'll give everybody just a second or two to get signed on. And while you guys wait, I will go ahead and put some information on the screen for you with our MLS department information, their contact information. Okay, so I went ahead and put up the MLS Quality Assurance Department, their phone number and their email address. It's mlsqa@har.com. So if you need some assistance after this, that would be who you'd want to contact. They're very, very helpful. So that would be who I would reach out to. And hello, good morning. I see a lot of people saying good morning. Good morning back. Happy to be here on a Monday morning. Yes, Angel says, let's make it a great day. Let's do just that, Angel. Alrighty, so it's 9:01. I don't want to make you guys wait, those of you that are here right at 9. So we will go ahead and get started. Excuse me, my name is Christina Schaefer. I'm one of the on-staff instructors for HAR and the social media manager for HAR. So if you have questions about any HAR class, you can reach out to me with those questions. I'll put my email address up on the screen at the very end so you can get that. So if any of you need to reach out to me, I'll put that up at the end. Today we're here to talk about adding and editing listings. So we've had, obviously, a change for those of you that used our old platforms, that the add edit system has changed a little bit. And then for any new members, this is all brand new to you. So we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and understands how to add and edit listings in Matrix. So that's what we're going to be going over today. Okay, I see somebody saying that we still can't rearrange photos. Okay, let me look into that, Tinsley, because as far as I'm aware, I believe that's corrected, but I will look into that. Okie doke. And for those of you who haven't noticed yet, yes, you can pop up or you can type in questions as a comment. I try to answer those questions live, so I just kind of look back and forth every now and then just to see, if I have any questions pop up. So like Tinsley actually made a comment about the photos, which we'll get to uploading photos in a little bit. Feel free to type those in and I'll kind of check periodically for that. So I kind of left this up. This just popped up the other day, actually popped up on Thursday, that we have new data input sheets. You should all be able to hear me. So I see somebody saying they can't hear. If you guys don't mind just kind of messaging that person to let them know that, excuse me, they need to turn up their volume on their computer. Okay, so I left this up. This popped up on last Thursday. The new data input sheets are available. So you have these here for every property type. You can check those out. They are really helpful when you go to edit a listing or gather information for adding a listing. And yes, Charlotte, I will be covering that. I will be covering adding a listing from a previous listing. Okay. So I'm going to click I've read this. And I'm going to go up to add edit. So you guys won't see this little drop down. You'll just see you'll just click right on add edit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you're welcome, Charlotte. Yes, that's a very important one, a very common question. So I wanted to make sure that I did cover that today. All right, so once I'm on this screen, I'll see where I can add a new listing. And I can also see where I can edit a listing, okay? So edit existing listing. So I'm going to start with adding a listing. We'll kind of go through that process, look at some things that have changed from our old system for those of you that use that. But again, for new members, all of it's new. So I want to make sure you understand how to use it. And then we'll go back in as if we're editing that same listing, okay? So I'm going to click Add New. And at this point, it's asking me which form I want to use, okay? So it's some people get confused by the wording because it says select a form, but really all I'm doing is I'm selecting the property type for the property that I'm going to add into the system, okay? So in this case, I'm using single family, so I'm going to use the single family add edit form to add the listing. So that's how that works. That's what that means there. Okay, so single family. So once I've selected my property type, I'm going to see a couple options. I can add a new property from a few different ways. I can auto-populate from Realist Tax. I can copy from an existing listing, kind of what Charlotte was asking about earlier, and also I can start with a blank listing. So there's 3 ways that I can initiate this process. So we're going to be auto-populating from Realist Tax, but very, very common question that we get is, how do I copy from a previous listing? Maybe I'll get people say to me, you know, I'm a property manager and I'm constantly, you know, re-adding same properties that I've added maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, etc. How do I do that, right? Well, this is how you would do it. And once you've reached this point, instead of auto-populating from the tax records, you would copy from an existing listing, okay? So I'm going to click that really quick so we can see how that works. Now, all I have to do from this point is enter in the MLS number from which to fill, okay? So once I enter in that MLS number, it's going to go ahead and start filling that form. It's going to auto-populate everything that was in that previous MLS listing into the new listing, okay? So for those of you that, you know, are constantly wondering about that, how do I add from an old listing, or maybe our listing expired and now I'm wanting to add it back in, that's how you do that. You really just, you go in to go add a listing, you hit add new, select the form, right? Select the property type for the property you're listing. And if you're copying from a previous listing, you would just hit copy from existing listing, put in the phone number, and then you would click this fill from button there. So it's really easy to do that. It's just kind of reverse of what we used to do. So before you would just go pull up that listing and then copy it. In this case, you start like you're adding a listing and then copy it, okay? So that's how we add from a previous listing. Now, auto-populating from Realist Tax, if you're adding a new listing, you've never listed it before, this is going to be what most people use. Of course, the last option there is to start with a blank listing, so you would just manually have to fill everything out. So auto-populating from Realist Tax is what I'm going to do today. In this case, right now, the default on this is for it to have Harris County selected. That is the same for everybody. It has Harris County selected there. In this case, that works for me because the listing that I'm going to you know, go through the motions with today is in Harris County. But if it wasn't, I could very easily go select, you know, Galveston County or Fort Bend County or wherever it is I need to select. But the default there is Harris County. Now, once I get to the fields where I can start searching, I've had some people, you know, confused about this in the past. They might think, you know, I have to fill in all of these to find the listing. You definitely do not have to do that. Just like when you're searching any other tax record, I could just put street number, street name, but you do have other options. I could search by owner, tax ID, etc. So in this case, I'm going to do street number, street name, and I'm going to use the address 4810 Laurel, okay? Now, when you put this in on the street name, remember, you do not need the street suffix. I'm not going to put Laurel Street or Boulevard or Lane or whatever. I'm just going to put 4810 Laurel, and then I'm going to hit the blue search button. Now, at this point, it's having me verify, is this the correct property, okay? This might not look too familiar to you if you're not familiar with this property, right? But I can see here the APN, the tax ID number. I can see the address, that it's in Bel Air, that it's in Harris County, and the owner name. And again, if this was a property you were familiar with, you would recognize this. Yes, Alex, this will be recorded for later viewing, so you will be able to watch from the beginning later on. Okay, so at this point, this is the correct property, so I could just click the fill button. Revise search, if it wasn't the correct property, I can click revise search to go back and search again if I need to change something there. So I'm going to go ahead and click fill. Okay, so earlier I selected the single family add edit form. So you can see up here at the top it says single family add edit. So I know I'm working with the right form here. And I can use this form to add the single family listing, right? So it makes sense. It's using the single family add edit form here. So if you see up here underneath the single family add edit, we see listing information, map information, property information, rooms, etc. You can kind of use this as your guide left to right to fill this form. Okay, so I can just go through, start adding information, and then I just kind of go through the process here, following the steps left to right. Okay, now anything in yellow is going to be a required MLS field. So anything in yellow is required for me to list this property. If I try to leave one of these fields blank, it will not let me activate this listing. It won't let me submit it as a new listing if something that's required is missing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in just a little bit of information here for us to get I go through the motions a little bit. Okay, I'm just putting in a little bit of random information here. Is it for lease? No. So you can kind of see how you can go through and fill this out. Again, some of this, a lot of this, actually all of this, was auto-populated from the tax records. Some information that's not even required does auto-populate from the tax records as well. So, you know, if it's in there, why not just leave it? I think it's, unless it's inaccurate or something, I don't see a reason to remove it. You know, I can go ahead and fill in whatever other information here that I need to fill in. Then when I'm ready, I can just move to the next tab here. So I'm going to click Map Information. Now, this is something for those of you that used our old MLS platforms, this is something that has changed for you. With the map information before, it would just find the spot on the map and you couldn't really modify it yourself. Now you're actually required to map your listing yourself, okay? It is not difficult to do. I'm going to show you the really easy ways to do it right now, but this is something that you definitely need to do to list your property now, is map the listing, okay? So there's a couple things I could do. Get latitude and longitude from address, set latitude and longitude manually, okay? And then there's an optional Google Street View, which we'll talk about. So get latitude and longitude from address. In most cases, this is going to be what you use. It's very easy. It finds it for you. But let's say maybe I clicked get latitude and longitude from address, and it found the wrong location. Maybe it's a new subdivision or a new street or something, and Google, for some reason, just can't find it. Well, you know, I can set that manually as well. So right here under the map, we see get latitude and longitude from address or set latitude and longitude manually. So I'm going to get it from the address. So I just click that button there, and voila, it's mapped it, right? It's found it for me. Now, if this was wrong, if this was inaccurate, okay, which it's not, that is the right spot. But if it was inaccurate, I could click set latitude and longitude manually, and it's going to pop up a little window to allow me to manually put where it is. I could just drag that little spot to where it needs to go. Okay, the optional Google Street View, if you click choose Google Street View, it's not going to pop up on the screen for you guys to see, but that is where you can actually go set a Google Street View. Again, that's optional, but that's something that you definitely might want to consider. At least click to see what the Google Street View is. In some cases, it's looking right at the property and it's perfectly fine. In other cases, it might be looking down the street, and as a consumer, I would kind of have to guess, okay, which property is it, right? So just something to consider there. Google Street View, that is an optional thing that you can do there. Now, down here at the bottom, it says system values below are assigned after the property is mapped and the listing is saved. So I don't need to do anything down here, but I want you to see this and kind of understand the importance, because the map, again, wherever this property is located, it's going to automatically assign it an area number, a geo-market area, and it's going to assign it schools, okay? So this right here, mapping the property, this is crucial. This is very, very important. We need to make sure it is in the right spot. Otherwise, it's going to assign it incorrect information, okay? All right, so once you've got your property mapped, we can move on to the next little tab here, property information. And again, I can just, anything in yellow is required. Anything that's not in yellow is not required, but of course if I have that information, it could be a good idea to add that information in, as much as your brokerage will allow you to input. Might be a good idea to input it because, for example, maybe I'm a consumer and I'm looking for particular interior features, right? But since it's not required, you as a listing agent didn't put those particular interior features. Well, if I'm a consumer, I don't really know about, required fields or not required fields. And let's just say, well, maybe I want an island kitchen. And I check that box when I'm going to search on HAir.com. Well, if you as the listing agent didn't put that in, I'm not going to find your listing, okay? So just keep in mind that although not all of these fields are required, if you have the information for some of them, it might be a good idea to put it in. Waterfront features, for example, I mean, if I have a listing that's waterfront, or beachfront, or whatever the case is, it might be a good idea to put that information in, right? Because that's what consumers are going to be looking for in that area, okay? So again, for new agents, just keep this in mind. You can, add a lot more than what's required. For seasoned agents, those of you that used our old platform, one thing that did change for you is that now you have these little check boxes, so you don't have to press and hold shift or anything like that. I can just kind of check the ones that I want to check there, and also if you notice, it's letting me check as many as I want, okay? In the past, it would limit you to, I think it was 5 per section there. So now I can add as much as I need to add here. So if I'm working, and I have a property that it has all the features, right? Maybe it's a new construction with all the features or whatever it is, all the great amenities, or high-end home that has a bunch of amenities. I can add all of those things in and not have to worry about, the limitations there. There is no limitation there. Okay. So the next section here, rooms. So on rooms, it did auto-populate the number of rooms. I can add max beds if I need to add that, but then I need to add in information for the rooms, okay? So this is something, it did change a little bit, but it gives you a lot of control here. So starting with the first room, on room type, I can just say, let's say in this case, master bedroom, and then I can put in my room dimensions there, room location, first floor, right? Now I'm ready to add a second room. So over here on the right-hand side, I have 2 options: delete the room I just put in, or click more to add another room. So I'm going to go ahead and put another bedroom here. This is, again, really helpful because you can put all this information in, but also listing agents, pay attention to the room locations as well. These are also things that consumers are looking for, but also MLS subscribers are looking for. Maybe they're looking for the master bed and an additional bed on the first floor, right? So that's information that I can put in there. Now you'll also notice that based on whatever property I pick, in this case I pick dining room, it might pop additional room features up on the right-hand side, okay? So if I'm putting in the dining room and it's formal, I can make that selection there, okay? Let's say I'm putting in the master bathroom. You'll see again, now I have, okay, is it a tub with shower, separate shower, right? So I can kind of put in whatever information there. So it does take note of whatever information you put in this field, the room type field, to give you appropriate room features, okay? Moving through financial information, again, I can, go through and add in all the information that's required and more. You're not limited to what's required. You can add in as much as you want there. Showing information, again, kind of a fill in the blank there too. Remarks. On remarks, for those of you that used our old platform, they did increase the amount of public remarks to 1,000. So they doubled that amount in there for you. So if you need to, you can be as descriptive as you need to because you have 1,000 characters to say whatever it is you need to say there. Okay, and on agent remarks, you have 550. You also have additional things in here, virtual tour links. So after I've listed this property, or maybe if I save this as incomplete, I can come back in here and add virtual tour links if I get those, or videos. property website information, things like that. Okay, I see a few questions popping up. Tinsley said, please tell everyone you cannot use more than one. Yeah, don't open more, basically at all in Matrix. You only want to have one Matrix window open at a time. It doesn't work for searching or adding. You need to have one window open at a time. Roxanne said, I love that we don't have to guess at schools. Yes, it's great that you don't have to do that. Water view populates when it's waterfront. JK, you can send me that offline and we can look into that. I think that's something that you and I've talked about already. But if it's something different than what you've already told us about, then we can talk about that. Michael, yes, we did already actually talk about copying listings. So if you missed that at the beginning of the session, this will be available for you to rewatch after we're done here with this session. Cheryl asked, can additional features, be added to specific rooms? There's not a way to manually add additional features on the rooms, but if there's something that you feel is missing, a feature that you feel is missing, maybe something that you're seeing more commonly in new construction homes or things like that, please let us know, because this is all stuff that we can continue to add to. If there's a particular room type, for example, we have a lot of them on here, but if there's a particular room type that we start seeing as a trend, we can add that in here. And then if we need to add specific room features for that type, then we can look into doing that too. Okay, so again, remarks and tour links, you can see the websites, hyperlinks, all of that stuff there. So let's say at this point, I felt like, what, I think I've put everything in I need to put in, but I want to check, right? So at the bottom of this screen here, I see the word validate. So if I click on validate, you'll notice it pops up these red exclamation points in some spots. It didn't pop them up on these first two, but it popped them up on these. And the reason it did that is because these first two, I completed everything that's needed to add the listing. So the minimum requirements, I put that in for these first two. But I'm missing information on these. So it kind of alerts me here in property information, I'm missing several fields. And you'll see next to each of those fields, whatever it is that I'm missing, I can go back in and add that in after the fact, okay? I can do that on any of these. On rooms, I said there's 4 bedrooms. So it wants to see 4 bedrooms at minimum here is what it wants to see, 4 bedrooms worth of information. Do you have to add the size of the master bath for the pop-up window? No, it pops up even before I put in the size. Yeah, the question was, do you have to add the room dimension before the features pops up? No, you do not. Okay. So where do you add a virtual tour? Again, that was over here on remarks and tour links section. Virtual tours go right there. Homes with different living quarters. It's going to be, I think there's the room description field. I would need to kind of look through it. Where is room description? Oh wait, no, it's not here, I'm sorry. So you're talking about, how would you describe a home that's separate living quarters? For example, you have the, multi-gen homes. You do have, let's see. Exterior description has one if it's a detached garage apartment. Back on rooms, I do have also guest suite with kitchen. So that's probably how I would do that there, Roxanne. Yeah, you can't have more than one tab open in Matrix, whether you're searching, adding a listing. It will let you open another tab, but it will mess up your information. So it's definitely not suggested that you do that. Okay, so at this point, let's say I'm ready to save this as incomplete. I've kind of reached the amount of information that I have. I'm going to come back to this later, right? So JK, that is in the property information. Pool information is right here in property. Pool private, and then you have the pool description there. Okay, so I'm going to hit save as incomplete. And now it says my listing has been successfully saved as incomplete. There's the MLS number. So it's actually already assigned it an MLS number. Okay. At this point, I can continue editing. I can go and add and edit photos and add and edit attachments. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Edit Photos. Now, it's kind of explaining to me here how to add photos. But basically I'm just going to show you right now. I can click Browse, and you can see I can add up to 50 photos here. Okay, so if I click Browse, go to my pictures, there's my 4810 Laurel folder. I'm going to open that. And I'm just going to kind of press and hold. On my computer, it's Shift. On everybody's computer, it's a little different, but it could be Hold or Shift, Control. It just kind of depends on your computer. And then I'm going to hit Open, and I'm adding my photos in here. Okay, so it just very quickly added those 6 photos. All right, now you see there is a line around these, a red line kind of surrounding these here. And basically it's telling me that the photos below outlined in red are lower than the amount of pixels that's the recommended minimum. It's a good idea if you do see this red line, maybe reconsider that photo. These are really low quality photos that I put on here, but might be something to reconsider, because remember, on a consumer's end, if that photo is not high resolution, it's going to look blurry for them. So it's nice that it does outline this for you. Yes, the pixels allowed are much larger than what was before, which is great, because on the consumer's end, they have a really nice quality picture. Okay. Now, let's say I want to add some captions in. Okay. So if I click on my photo here, and this is my primary slot there, if I click on the photo, I can go ahead and enter a description, whatever my description is, hit done, and then hit save. Okay, so I've added that one. And then maybe on this one, I want to put entryway. Done, save. Okay, and I'll just put, living room or whatever the case is. So I can go in and put as much information as I want in. I'm just kind of doing this quickly so you guys can see how it's done there. I can also click, hold, and drag to reorganize the photos if I need to reorganize the photos. Maybe they uploaded out of order or whatever the case is. I can do that pretty easily. It just kind of added that there. So, and I think that kind of answers, was it Tinsley's question? Yeah, Tinsley made a comment about that you still can't rearrange photos. I was just able to do it, and I am using Google Chrome. So maybe check your browser settings or something like that, or just give us a shout and we can talk more about options if we talk offline there, Tinsley. Okay, I'm going to hit save. So I've saved the photos, and now I can also add and edit attachments. In our old platform, these were called docs, but it's the same idea. I'm adding in, for example, my seller's disclosure. Then I'll hit select file, and choose a file from my computer that I want to add. It's not showing you guys my files, but I'm just selecting my file there. And then once I've selected it, attachment type, is it, what is it that I'm adding? I can put that in there too. So it's a seller's disclosure. I'll hit upload, right? And so now I want to add mud. So I'm going to, choose file, upload. Okay, so after I've uploaded the file, this is still something that's editable. For example, the type, I didn't specify what the type was when I uploaded it, but I can still, after the fact, go pick agent only and change that. Okay. I can also reorganize these. If I had added something later and I wanted to go change it, I can do that. Okay. So then I'm going to hit save. I've added my attachments. Okay. So a common question I get is, because of the photos, the way we add captions in now, maybe I just want to be able to see my photos with the captions and make sure it all looks good. Well, if you click on this MLS number, here, you can actually see a preview of the listing, okay? And it looks how it would look if it was already listed. It's not listed yet, but it looks how it would look if it were already listed. And you can even just go kind of see your photos there, see them with the captions, and just make sure you've put in everything there, okay? JK, I don't remember offhand the exact amount, but they did increase the size of the photos. It's the maximum allowable by any MLS. I don't remember offhand the number, but for any attachments that you're adding, it is the maximum allowable for any MLS across the country. So you shouldn't have a problem with uploading attachments and their size. Okay, so I see another question about accessing old listings. I will go through that just one more time. We went through that at the beginning, but I'll cover that one more time before we wrap up. Okay, so I started this listing, I saved it as incomplete. Now let's say I completely got out of the MLS and I was coming back in. Now once I completely get out of Matrix, it will actually pop up right here in this My Listings. It'll say My Incomplete Listings. I don't want to get out of Matrix just for the sake of our time, but it would pop up right there if I'd gotten out of Matrix altogether. But I added it as incomplete, so I can still go up to Add Edit. And right here, I can click Edit Listing, or we also have Quick Modify, okay, if I want to Quick Modify. So I can actually select the listing from a little drop down here. So if I click on the Select a Listing, I'll see a little pop-up window there. I can select the listing I want. And now that I've put in my 4810 Laurel listing there, I selected that, I can again choose what I'm going to do. You won't have the same options as I do. I might see a few other options. You see it says staff next to some of mine. So you won't have all of these options. But at this point, I could click Single Family Add Edit and go back in and continue working on my Add Edit form, right? I didn't put in everything for property information, so I can go and put in that information there, right? Hit Validate again just to see where I'm at. And then once I'm done, I don't have any more of these red exclamation points. I've put everything in that I need to put in. I'll just be able to click Submit Listing, and that's it. That's how I would add a new listing, okay? Going back, just to show you a few other options, Delete Listing is also there. Delete Incomplete Listing is also there. So in this case, I saved it as incomplete, but maybe I need to delete it. Well, I can delete that there. I can also go back to manage my photos and manage my attachments from here as well. So if I need to go and add my photos, maybe I had added all the information but not added photos, I can come back and do that. Or I need to add in attachments or new attachments even. So that would be how you would do that. Okay. If the docs are in .loop, will it browse and upload from there? From there and from Transaction Desk eventually, okay? That will be something that you should probably see in the next few months, is the synchronization between .loop, Transaction Desk, and Matrix. So yes, Sherry, not right now, but yes, that is coming, okay? So you guys kind of answering each other's questions too. That's always really helpful because sometimes you guys already have the answer that somebody else is asking. So Angel and Tinsley, I'm glad you guys are kind of working on that stuff together. If you guys need any additional information from me, be sure to reach out. Okay, so really quick to review, we've gone through the Add Edit. Really quick to review, because this is, again, one of the most common questions we get, is how do I add a previous listing? How do I copy a previous listing? All I did there was I go to Add Edit, I'll click Add New, select the property type, so in this case I'll do single family, and then instead of auto-populating from Realist Tax, I'll copy from an existing listing. So I put copy from an existing listing, type in the MLS number there, and then click the Fill From button. And then from there it's the same process. I can go and modify information if information has changed from the previous time it was listed, or anything like that. If there's new photos or whatever the case is, I can go and modify all of that information. Okay, I believe I've gotten to everybody's question. Let me just double check. Talked about where you add a virtual tour. Okay, and yeah, a couple people asked about, will this be available to view later? It absolutely will. As soon as we wrap up this session, excuse me, you'll see in the videos section of our Facebook page, you'll see the Matrix Monday for today. If you don't know the MLS number, then how do you copy? You do need to know that MLS number. So you might want to use maybe the speed bar up here. Maybe if I'm looking for the previous MLS number for a particular property and I want to copy it, I can go look up that property there. There's an MLS number. I can use that to copy in. JK, it works the same way. If it was expired, terminated, sold, you know, whatever it is, it's going to be the same process. You use that MLS number to copy from. All right, I don't see any other questions popping up, so we're going to go ahead and end the session. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to put my information back up on the screen, or not back up, on the screen for you. My email address is right there if you want to reach out to me individually. You could definitely do so. And I will see you guys back next Monday at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.